What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the opening pair. Sports Zone number 10 already. So quick.
Double figures,
tonight,
baby. Double figures.
Yeah, Jesus, can't believe it. Yeah, so tonight we're going to be talking about UFC 262 Oliveira versus Chandler. But before we do that, let me introduce my ever-reliable, the incomparable Mr. Keith Kilduff. Keith, how are you this evening?
You just copied one that I've called you in the past, Mr. Davern.
I was going to call you enigmatic, and I was like, it's too much of a praise on your name. So,
well, listen, you are unparalleled in your knowledge of UFC. So
you've been waiting for that one, haven't you?
Definitely, but no, listen, UFC 262, Houston, Texas, 17,000 people. New lightweight champion going to be finally crowned as they finally move away from the Khabib era. Finally letting the man retire. Let him just enjoy the rest of his life, and let's move on with this division. I'm very, very excited to break into it.
Yeah. As you say, it's finally a bit of movement into the lightweight division. It's been held up for longer than really it should have been. But yeah, we're finally going to get a little bit of closure with Khabib and start a new era.
Definitely.
Yeah. So you kind of want to. I said to you earlier before we came on air, we've got a somewhat of a packed card, but we've lost some big names as well, haven't we, Keith? With the Nate Diaz.
Yeah, it's been a shame because obviously we've lost Jack Hermanson there during the week. That fight's been moved now to next weekend between Rob Font and oh my God, Cody Garbrandt. So I'm very excited. That really kind of helped boost up that card. And obviously we've lost Nate Diaz versus Leon. Thankfully it's not COVID, it's an injury. It's been moved to 263. So it just helps to kind of listen, the guy can't catch a break, and when he does, he catches someone in the eye.
Yeah, so the one guy in Nate Diaz that never has pulled out in his first fight, and it's against Leon. But anyway, look, it's still there somewhere for him.
Yeah, but I think, listen, there's a lot of sleeper fights in this card still. Obviously, it's rounded up by the main event. But I think in terms of let's get into kind of who's going to be there. Obviously, we've got Valentina's sister fighting against Angela Lee. Obviously, the co-main event's kind of a bit of a violence fight in its own way between Tony and Beneil. I think the first fight on the pay-per-view between Burgos and Edson Barbosa. I think, listen, Dana may just get his checkbook out now and just give them, fight of the night, performance of the night, because that is just going to be hell for leather for 15 minutes. But is there anything else that kind of stands out to you?
Jacare is on this card as well. I'm actually surprised. I'm surprised he's actually still with the UFC, if I'm honest. He's coming off a bad loss to your boy.
Big Mouth.
Big Mouth. Yeah, called Big Mouth. I'd imagine he's fighting for his career, if I'm being honest. He's on the feature fight in the prelims. So look, he's always entertaining to watch, and he comes with everything he has. And yeah, look, he's in his 40s now, so yeah, a man fighting for his career. It's worth having a look if we're having a bit of a free evening and we want to get stuck in a bit early. But no, I think the best thing we can do is we've kind of touched on the highlights somewhat, but I think we should just get stuck into the main card.
I think before we do, there is a couple of kind of fights that I would like to get kind of your.
You're coming. I'm coming
back. Listen, I've got a lot to say about Michael Chandler, and I've got a lot to say about a few others as well.
Okay, yeah, no, I'm happy with that.
There has been a kind of a thought out there about Tony Ferguson. I want to kind of get a view on you, because when we started this kind of show, this Sports Zone, one of the first shows we did was UFC 249. And since then, Tony's career, he's taken 2 L's for the first time back-to-back in his career. And a lot of people are saying that he's on the way out. I disagree. I think he's the same as what he is, but I think that everybody else has caught up with him. And I want to get your view on Tony's career, where he is now, where he's been, and where do you think he goes after this weekend, if it's not a W? Or maybe it is a W in your eyes.
Yeah, it's tricky. Like, we'll get into it a little bit later in more depth. But yeah, you raise an interesting point, I will say. I do agree with you in that I think there is a little more in him. Obviously, the 2 losses were very, very bad. There was a lot of damage. There was no ray of light in either, really.
There was more physical damage in the first one, and I think that there was more skill damage in the second one.
Yeah, mental. Yeah. No, look. As I said, we'll get into it a little bit later, but he has finally kind of gotten his corner situation sorted somewhat. He's now with Freddie Roach, the great Freddie Roach, So that's going to, his boxing cannot not improve, if that makes sense, working with a legend of the game.
Ben Askren thought that, and it didn't quite work out.
Well, Ben Askren worked with him for a week. Let's not get away from ourselves here.
Worth the comment, though. Worth the comment.
No, absolutely. Look, if it came to mind, why not? But no, look, I think there is a little bit more left in the guy. He's still a name. We've seen it with Cerrone last weekend. Bad loss, but the guy still has a name. Do I think this is his end game? It depends on what he looks like, if I'm honest. He's 37 now, so he's not a million miles away from the end, to be honest.
Okay, now that's interesting. No, I'm interested to see how this kind of fight goes, because obviously one of the last times I seen Beneil was that massive kind of comeback win against Klose in UFC 248, where he was out in his feet and then just started firing off shots. We got the infamous guys on the desk just going whatever, as we always do see every now and again.
Yeah,
but
he's one of those fighters that, like, it's actually one of the fights I'm struggling to kind of pick a winner, if I'm honest.
It's hard to know where to rank Beneil. I feel like he's like, is he top tier? Is he mid tier? Is this an opportunity to get into a top 5 and then kind of work around? Is he fit for the top 5? Yeah. It's very hard to kind of pivot. I feel like if Beneil can win, I think that maybe there's an interesting fight between him and RDA potentially next. Would be kind of how Gaethje, I would see where.
Or Gaethje's floating around, and it's October was the last time we've seen him, so he needs a fight. It brings a new fresh prospect into the division if Beneil does get the job done, and I'm sure the UFC, not that they want Tony to lose, but they're happy for contenders. A new name, fresh markets to go into, fresh matchups. It's always great, especially in that lightweight division. It's just absolutely filled with sharks. So it's another player at 55 if you can get the job done. But look, we're going to jump into that one a little bit later. We're going to start off with pure violence, as you christened it earlier, with Shane Burgos and Edson Barboza. For you, looking at this from the outside in, what's your kind of general overview of it?
2 words come to mind: significant strikes.
And
lots of them, of them. The 2 guys who are kind of ranked in around kind of like the 8 to 12. I know, like, we've talked about rankings in the past. I know you're not a big fan of them, but it does kind of give a kind of a fair indication where they are in the division. I think there's an opportunity here for the winner to maybe make a little bit of a push. It's hard to know, but I think these guys are just going to trade blows, and one is either going to drop or we're going 15 minutes and 17,000 people in Houston are going to be quite happy.
Yeah, no, completely. Like Barboza in particular, he's moving down to 55. Genuinely, at the time when I first heard that he was moving down to 45, I just thought, because he actually struggled to make weight at 55. I just wondered, like, this man is going to absolutely be a skeleton on the scales. But to be fair to him, he's put a few victories together, and he's looking the part down there. Like, the man is an absolute highlight reel, though. He really is. Shane Burgos is the very same. Like, I mean, this guy just walks forward, does not care what you hit him with. He's just going to keep coming until he can't. Like, the man is a cardio machine. So, this is going to be just 3 rounds of all-out action. Funnily enough, I was actually doing a small bit of research before we came on. Not like me to do any research for these shows, but I have a list of names that Barboza has fought, and I actually had to write them down because
Habib is one of them.
Yeah, he is. He's fought Paul Felder twice, Gaethje, Kevin Lee, Ferguson, Cerrone, Anthony Pettis, Beneil Dariush, Daniel Hooker, and Bobby Green. It's a who's who. It's a who's who of the UFC. That's just
madness.
It's insane.
But doesn't that just go to show you that all you need is one big win and you're in? Yeah, that kind of feels like he's a guy that the UFC have seen and said, we'd like to give this guy a push. We'd like to give this guy a push. That's a murder's row.
It's a Hall of Fame-esque, list of names.
Like except for Guten Tag from the Felders, of course.
Look, he has his moment. He has his legacy as well. Yeah.
Who wins the fight for you?
Yeah, I was just going to kind of touch on that. I'm struggling with this one. I have to be honest. As I said, both of them are very unpredictable. But just having listed off those names that Barboza has faced, he just, and he's competed very well against most. Khabib kind of did a job on him, but that's Khabib. For me, Barboza takes this. He's going to be the bigger man in there on the night, and he has that experience. Burgos coming off a bad loss as well. So I'm gonna go with Barboza by decision. So what's your take on this contest?
Barboza round 2 knockout.
Oh, okay, yeah, I'll take that. So that's kind of our first one covered off. This next one, it's Caitlin Chookagian against Viviane Araújo. It's a fight that I'm surprised is actually on the main card. If I'm honest, I suppose with the late pullouts and the way things were,
she was always on it though.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm surprised
to begin with.
Yeah. I thought the likes of a Jack Ray or even Andrea Lee would get the spotlight, because Chookagian, after her last couple of fights, she's a weird record. Like, she was very badly beaten by Shevchenko. Again, nothing really against that. Came back and beat her sister very, very dominantly. Then lost very badly to Andrade. And then come back with another good victory. So, she's just very, very up and down. It just surprised me that she's on the card.
To me, she is someone who I feel I don't like. Obviously, she's had her crack at Shevchenko already, but I feel like almost they see her as the way to find the next contender. Yeah, if that makes sense. Gatekeeper's probably the wrong word, but it's probably a fair kind of word. I think that she probably doesn't get enough credit for where she's at in the rankings, because she's considered kind of like a decision-making merchant. She doesn't knock people out. It's always like, it's 15 minutes and I'll get my hand raised with her.
Yeah.
But I mean,
kickbacks and silent.
Yeah, but I think, listen, that's nothing to be shirked against either. Like, she has a style, she goes with the style. It's not her fault that that's what works for her. Like, I mean, Khabib was never going to turn into Conor, or Gaethje or anything like that. He had a style and he went with it, and he was very successful with it. And that's what Caitlin's doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, as I said, this is it probably is rude to say it, but it is somewhat of a gatekeeper fight. Araújo, I'll be honest, I'm not too up to date with her career. I know she's coming off a couple of victories. Ranked about 6-7. It's a fair fight for where they're both at, but there's probably I don't know if the next number one contender comes from this, because I know Lauren Murphy is fighting in a few weeks' time, and that's kind of been primed as the next person that's gonna be kind of put to the slaughter by But I think Caitlin's going to get this done, and then she's going to force the UFC to make a decision on Monday morning themselves. That's my opinion. Yeah, as I said, I did a little bit of looking into Araújo, and she's won a couple of fights. She's mostly a decision, so I think it's going to be a tighter fight than we imagine. But just that range that Chookagian can operate from, for me, I think just gets it done. I see it being very, very close, but I'd lean Chookagian on the night.
Agreed.
Yeah. So that's kind of the lesser fights on the card, apart from the first one. But this one, Machnel and Bontarine, this is another late edition. Again, this card has just kind of been a little bit all over the shop, hasn't it?
It's just been unfortunate with the Diaz and the Edwards and the this, that, and the other, that this is where we've kind of gotten to. But I've always said I've always liked the lighter divisions. So to see a fight of this kind of 135 nature within kind of the main pay-per-view card, I'm very excited to see it all the same. Yeah, see, as I was saying, the last minute edition of it is crazy, because it's at 135, but both of them are actually 125ers. Okay. I wonder, is that a factor in terms of we need to just come in, sort of? That's it. Bontarine kind of stepped in with about 3 or 4 weeks' notice or so, and just took the call and said yes. As Michael Chandler would say, when the UFC call, you say yes, and that's it. That's it. You have to. You got to take your chance when it comes. The UFC's not going to call you back. Masvidal has been pushed heavy by the UFC. He's an Ultimate Fighter contestant. He has the look. He has that look. The All-American. He's great cardio, not great on the mic, but look,
that's neither here nor there.
Get your results, get your W's. And you don't need to be as good on the mic.
Yeah, that's it. Like, and especially at 125, it's not the deepest of divisions. So it speaks volumes that the UFC plucked Schnell from the prelims to put him onto the main card and give him the platform. Again, it's another one of those close fights. Like, Bontorino is coming in off a very bad loss to Kai Kara France. He got knocked out, stepping in, trying to relight the career again and get going. But just kind of looking at it, for me, Schnell is just a little bit classier. He just has a little bit more to him. He has the cardio advantage. Again, I feel like I'm going with decision, but it's just the nature of the beast of the late replacement. And yeah, I think Schnell gets the decision here. What about yourself?
I think that they're probably all fair points. I would agree with them. I think, listen, we were spoiled with 261 and the amount of KOs and knockouts that we had in that. So, like, I wouldn't be surprised to see this kind of be a lighter highlight reel card. I think the main highlights to come down the line. But we move on to the co-main event now. Beneil and Tony. Where do you start? I know we've kind of touched on it a little bit. I think that I would like to see Ferguson win this fight. I would like to see El Kakui back. I would like to see the Boogeyman reappear. I think being surrounded by 17,000 people cheering him on is going to help. You and myself had the privilege and pleasure to be at UFC 229 when he fought Pettis, and the place was erupting, like a real sort of gladiatorial. Something from the Roman times was kind of how I felt looking around, enjoying it, soaking in the atmosphere. And Tony really kind of like buzzed off that. So I wonder, is that factor going to help him get that extra little 5-10% in him? But listen, Beneil is an extremely hard guy to put down. And I think this is opening night for him in terms of he gets a job done here. He opens doors for his career moving forward.
Absolutely, yeah. As I said, we've touched on this slightly earlier, and yeah, it is. It's the crossing of paths of a career here, isn't it? Really, it's a guy.
It's fair,
yeah. It's a guy on the upward path, and a guy. Yeah, we have to say he's coming down.
You have to, unfortunately, when you're 0-2 in your last two. But again, to the point that was earlier, like, is it a case? We'll know on Saturday night whether it's a case that people are lapping him, or whether, we'll know what the answer, I think, is to Tony Ferguson come Saturday.
Yeah, absolutely. As I said, the change of scenery with the gym and having a proper camp, like, basically, I think for the last couple of fights, he was his own head coach, basically, which is just, you can't do that at this level anymore. The game's involved far too much for that stuff. Both of them are very unusual. They can just throw stuff on the fly, like a flying knee out of nowhere, an elbow, just use all parts of their body to get the victory. Dariush is an absolute machine on the ground. I mean, if it does go to the ground, both of them, their jiu-jitsu is on a different planet completely, and it's just going to be a purist night out. I don't see it going to the ground, unfortunately. I don't. I'm gonna let you make your prediction first, because I'm really struggling to kind of decide. I think you said Ferguson. I think, is that what you were leaning to?
I'm leaning towards Ferguson, because I think, listen, you've made some great points regarding, changing his act up, changing his camp, taking things a little bit, I don't want to say serious, that's not the word. A change in attitude, I think, is what we're seeing this week from Tony. And I think he's going to come out, and I think the crowd is going to be a massive help to him, because he is going to feed off that. I think he gets it done. I think it goes 15 minutes though, and he's probably sweating for a decision is the only thing. But I think he gets it done.
I'm surprising myself here, but I'm going to go with Dariush.
Okay,
literally up until about 2 minutes ago, I was like, yeah, Ferguson. But there's just there's just something that I worry about with the way that Ferguson lost his last 2 fights. It just was a complete and utter demolition job. If we're honest, there was no. Even in the Gaethje fight. I know it was a stand-up fight for quite a while, and Ferguson relied on his toughness, but there's only so long you can do that. But the Oliveira fight was just a man's soul being taken, and Dariush is similar in his approach to Oliveira. You know, he's awkward, he's big, he's long, he's great on the ground. His stand up has improved exponentially in the last number of years. So I can't believe I'm actually saying this, but I think Dariush finishes Ferguson here.
Wow.
Yeah. Hot take alert.
Hot takes. But you listen, we have to make predictions, and
that's it.
No, on Saturday night. This is the thing.
We will. But look, we have a fight here that I believe, for once, you're more excited about than I am.
Cannot wait for this fight. I cannot wait for this fight.
Of course, we're talking about the main event: Charles Oliveira, Michael Chandler for the 155-pound belt. I'm going to just hand over to you. You're a huge Chandler fan, obviously. Oliveira is a tough opponent. What's your thoughts?
Thoughts? I have so many. This is the problem. I have so many thoughts, but I think. Listen, this. As I alluded to earlier, and we kind of brushed over, listen, Khabib is officially retired. He's officially gone, and now begins a new era in the lightweight division, which is words that Michael Chandler said in his post-match. See you at the top. I think, listen, this is a great fight in terms of where the division had to go. I think you've got two unbelievable contenders, one way or another. Whoever wins on Saturday night, the division is going to have a quality champion in place moving forward. The reason I love Michael Chandler is I think that he has it all. I really do. I think he's unbelievable on the ground. I think his striking is unbelievable. He has this beautiful way in which, like, he kind of pops in and pops out without getting the counter hit in. And we've seen this with Hooker. Like, everyone's talking about the Hooker fight, but they're not talking about the Benson Henderson fight or what he did to Eddie Alvarez or anything else that he's done in kind of his Bellator career. I just think that Chandler has it all. And he's great on the mic, and he's great in terms of like how he presents himself. Like, as a marketing person, like, he is a dream, but he's also a dream fighter. But he's coming up against an unbelievably tough opponent in Oliveira, who's just as strong on the feet, who's just as strong on the ground. And no matter what way we kind of break down this next kind of 10, 12 minutes or however long we go, maybe it's an hour and 12 minutes, like, we are going to pretty much say that these guys are very, very similarly matched, I believe.
Wow, I don't even think I'm needed here after that intro. That's just amazing. No, look, you make a lot of good points. I think that the big thing with Chandler was when he first came in under somewhat of I don't want to say a cloud, but he was brought straight in and kind of thrown into the championship stakes, and a lot of people, you know, the world the way it is, weren't overly happy. They thought this guy was entitled and, you know, skipping the queue. But look, he was only just doing what he was told. Yeah. And to be fair to him, based off of his career at Bellator, like, he's won the world title there twice. You know, it's not some bum off the street that they're bringing in. No. You know, the guy has it all. He has, as you say, he has the look. He's good on the mic. He seems very, very likable. As I said to you before, sometimes it can be a little bit much. You know, it's like I do like the guy. Just sometimes it's just like a little bit too heavy that he lays it on. But having said all of that, Oliveira, 10 years in the UFC, this man debuted on a channel that doesn't even exist anymore. You know, like, he has done it the hard way. So has Chandler, but I mean, Oliveira has done it the hard way in the UFC all his career. He's worked his way right up from nothing to something to potentially everything. It really is a case of styles makes fights here. For me, Chandler, pressure fighter, you know, explosive, on the front foot, just going to back up Oliveira. He did that against Hooker. the big difference for me is, and I've watched it back recently, Hooker was terrified of the takedown.
Terrified, completely terrified.
Yeah,
and Hooker did the one thing that you don't do when you're fighting Chandler, and that's as he circled. If you want to take on Michael Chandler, you have to take it to him. You have to go into him. Yes, you're going to eat a few shots, but it is the best way. It's the key to victory against Chandler, I think, in this fight. You have to go into Chandler. You can't circle around him because he's got the left jab, he's got the right jab. He's so explosive off both feet. Like there was a knockout there that I watched. I think it was the Ben Henderson one, and you see him. He plants the left, right, and then within a split second, they both move. Catches him with the right, and on the way down, Henderson thinks that he's going for the takedown and smacks him with the left. Game over. Like I cannot.
I've never seen you this fired up before. I've never seen you this fired up before. This is unbelievable stuff. No, again, yeah, you've hit on the point. So absolutely, that's exactly what Chandler. He said it. He's not making light of it. Like, this is what he does. It's one thing to know what a guy does. It's a completely other thing to try and actually counteract it and stop it. Having said all of this, to me. And I've gone back and forth on this, and I said it to you even as well about Chandler. I said the closer it gets, the more I'm leaning towards him. To me, Oliveira is everything that Chandler hates. Absolutely doesn't want, because he's long, he's rangy. He won't mind going to the ground. He'll pull guard. Oliveira is an absolute shark on the ground. Like, Chandler's wrestling is decent. It is very good. His wrestling is very good, but the counteracting to wrestling is jiu-jitsu. And Oliveira is at the very, very top of the mark when it comes to jiu-jitsu. His striking has improved exponentially, absolutely light and day. He's moved up from 45. He fought Max Holloway there, was unlucky, hurt his shoulder, the fight was stopped. This is his last chance, really, if we're being honest. He doesn't have that name, I don't think, to come again. Brazilian guy, he's worked his way up in the favelas. This is his last chance at really earning a decent living for his family as well as himself. I just think with Chandler, the pressure is a little bit off of him now. He's had that debut, all the spotlight on him.
Because I think the pressure's just gone up. I really do. I think that, listen, ever since the moment that Dana got a sniff that this guy was available, I remember there was one press conference, I think it was after 252, it could have been, and someone said that Chandler was a free agent, and I think he stopped talking for like a minute, which Dana never does, and he was like, we need to look into that. And every interview where Dana talks about Chandler, he always says, like, he loves this guy. This guy comes in, great attitude. Whatever you need from him, he does. So, like, that's all been building. So not only has there been like a fan expectation of hate and negativity to a point, but there's also been a company expectation, and that's risen and pivoted all the way to 257 at the start of the year. And then to knock out Hooker, like, we seen what Hooker and Poirier did last year, 5 rounds of pure violence, and Chandler got him in and out inside of 3 minutes in the first round. Like, that just exploded Chandler again.
No, I do. I see where you're coming from, but the point I'm kind of was trying to make was, this is now. It's going to sound condescending, but it's a little bit of bonus territory for Chandler now. Like, he's 34. He didn't think he'd actually ever get to the UFC. I listened to an interview with him during the week with Ariel Helwani, and he said he always seen the very top as the UFC. That was his top end goal, that he wanted to prove that he was good enough. He used to always say in interviews, I'm the best. I'm one of the best 55ers in the world.
And people like in this world. Yeah, have had a chance to show it.
Yeah, and people would always question why he haven't done in the UFC. He's come in on the biggest card he can possibly come in on and put down one of the biggest markers, highlight reel moments that you can do. That's what the UFC wanted him for. He's proven already, okay, I am in the top 5 lightweights in the world. This is a free hit for him now. This really is, because this was Dustin Poirier's fight to give up. And he did. He went for the money. He went for the money fight, and the winner of that will get the next fight for the belt. That's just a fact that's happening. But for me, with Chandler, he's proven to himself and all of the fans that doubted him for the years, and Dana, everyone else, that he belongs here. He can go out now tonight, obviously, or sorry, Saturday night. He can go out there and just let it flow. Just go and flow and just lay it on the line. Go out. Just if he gets knocked out in a minute, so be it. He's put it on the line. He went out. He did what he said he was going to do. He said yes on 8 weeks' notice and took on someone that a lot of people have actually been avoiding in the division. To be fair, so that for me, I think, is a massive advantage to Chandler. He's also had that experience of fighting for world titles in the main event. Oliveira hasn't. So
yeah, exactly. That's something that you can't buy that experience.
No, absolutely
you really can't. I'm just so excited about this fight, and I didn't think I would be as excited as I am, but as we've kind of led into it, the anticipation is just grown and grown and grown. I think, listen, let's cut to the chase. Let's give our prediction. How do you see this fight going?
I see this being very competitive. I really do. Obviously, it was put together reasonably quickly. And if you had said to anyone, like when we were doing our show last year, that this would be the lightweight undisputed title fight, no one would have believed you. But we're here, and you know what? It's an absolutely cracking fight. I think the longer this goes, the more it suits Oliveira. I think in that first round, Chandler is up there with the likes of a Conor, absolutely dynamite in his hands, explosive power. The fear of the takedown is there, which causes someone to drop their chin. That won't be Oliveira. Oliveira won't care about Chandler going for his hips. He actually would almost encourage that. So I think if Oliveira can somewhat push Chandler back a little bit, or at least meet him in the middle and cancel him out, maybe the leg kicks or the calf kicks in particular are going to play a role here, because, as I said, Chandler is that pressure fighter, going to lean heavy on his front foot. To me, I've gone back and forth, but I'm going to stick with my initial instinct, my gut instinct, and I think Oliveira gets the job done. I think Chandler wins the first round, potentially gets close to a finish. Oliveira just does enough to get through, and as it goes on, I think Oliveira takes over. I think he finishes him inside 3 rounds.
Wow.
Sorry to burst the bubble of Chandler, but I actually, and to be honest, let me just also say, I actually would like to see Chandler win. I genuinely would, and I do think we spoke on this numerous times now. It would be the best thing for the division, because Chandler versus the Dustin and or Conor would be absolutely huge.
Box office stuff.
Absolutely, yeah. What's your take? I think we know where you're going to go with this, but tell me how.
It's interesting because everything that you've said, I kind of think the opposite. I think Chandler's going to get stronger as we go on. I think he's going to be the one that's keeping up the pace. I don't know if Charlie Olives has it in him, because we haven't seen Charlie Olives over 5 rounds. Chandler is
there has been weight cutting issues with him as well, also.
Yeah, the weight cutting thing. I think, listen, I've said also since we started this, I would be happy with either of these winning. I think that Chandler has more in him. I think that he can defend the takedown a lot better than most. I think that if he decides to take Oliveira down, I think he has enough in him to maybe get a submission that way. I think there's going to be a lot of pace. There's going to be a lot of movement. There's going to be a lot of hits. I've talked earlier about this kind of this set and bounce in and out, get hit on the counter attack. I think Chandler has a lot of weapons in here that he can use to nullify Oliveira and knock out Oliveira. Do I think he's going to knock him out? No. Do I think he's going to submit him? No. But I do think at the end of 25 minutes, we will hear and new Michael Chandler. Yeah, no, look, as I said, Chandler is most definitely in. It's a pick 'em fight. It simply really is. It so is, because we can, as I said, we could do this for another hour, and we'll probably we'll still find more reasons to kind of match these guys up.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And anyone that says that, I definitely think that X or Y is going to win, I don't buy into that. It's one of those that on any given night, they could beat each other, simply put. And look, that's what we want. We don't really want to see absolute blowouts. Yeah, it's great to see knockouts and spectacular finishes, but there's nothing better than a really good 5-round back and forth fight. I think we get at least 3 rounds of that here. After, when it gets into championship rounds, God knows.
God knows. I think it's going to be an amazing fight. Really, really looking forward to it. I think the 17,000 fans are going to eat this up. And I just genuinely cannot wait for this fight.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's great to have fans back. It makes such a difference. We've seen it at 261. It's just a world of difference. And the fighters definitely respond to it. So, yeah, we're in for a treat. I'm buzzing for it now. You've built me up now. You've built me up.
It's a nice change of pace to it that I'm the one bringing the energy for a change. But maybe
I'm happy.
Maybe you've finally gotten your hooks into it.
All my work is paying off at last.
Exactly. But listen, that's probably the best way to kind of leave this. UFC 261, Houston, Texas this weekend, live on BT Sport, something that we haven't mentioned the last couple of times. The main event card starts at 3 a.m. in the morning. We'll be up. We'll be watching. We'll see how we get on. As I said, it is going to illuminate and excite no more than Kyle Gavin has done tonight alongside myself. You can find him on Twitter at KyleGavin23. You can find me at Cakelduff Media. Check out all our shows, all our movie shows, all our old sports zones. Check out the Lions show. All the bits. Do all the things. Like, subscribe, comment. Let us know how you think this is going to go. And in the words of Michael Chandler, we'll see you at the top.
Enjoy the fights.